So this time we're looking at this Nintendo Game Boy. Now the first issue it has, the glue from the screen's completely knackered. Second problem we've got, when I put a game in, all looks good so far. And then we've got them little bands, them vertical bands, so that's the next thing we need to fix on this. So first thing, to take it apart, there's just 6 screws. Now these are either tri-wing or crosshead depending on the age of your Game Boy. The earlier ones had the crosshead, the later ones had the tri-wing. So this tri-wing I'm using is a Y00, but a Y0 will do it as well. Y00 is more for the cartridges rather than this, but it does the job. Just get all the screws out. Now open this up carefully, because first thing we got is this ribbon cable. Just got to carefully kind of work this back and forth just to pull it out. Now we've got 10 of these little crosshead screws on the inside of the screen. These we need to remove because we need to get to the front of that screen. So now they're all removed. Just got, again, this screen has never been opened before, so it can be a little bit sticky. Again, just work it back and forth a bit. Some people say use a screwdriver underneath to pry it. I wouldn't, because potentially you could get that screen. So just removing the membrane, putting that all together for later. So the first thing we want to do is remove this little rubber strip from under the screen, because this is where we need to use our soldering iron. Again, depending on how long that's been on there for, either that sticky pad's going to come up with it or it's going to do what it's done here and just stick to it. Now you can rub this off and remove it beforehand, however we're going to be using a hot soldering iron on here, so it will come off with the soldering iron. Next thing I want to do is put batteries back into the Game Boy, because this is a fix where you actually have to do it with the Game Boy actually being live. So we're just going to slot the screen back in. And again, just be very careful. You see where I'm holding this ribbon is very close to the end. Again, I want to put the least amount of flex on it as possible. Again, just wiggle this in slowly just to make sure it gets in place. Next thing we want to do is turn the Game Boy back on, and we're going to turn the contrast all the way down so we can see the lines. Now this seems to have more lines than it did before. Again, probably where I've removed that strip, it's just caused a couple more strips to kind of come up. Now this is quite a normal thing to happen. Again, we can already see this strip is coming up for the lines that are already missing. So when we start going around this area, chances are we're going to disturb more. So the starting temperature here is 233 degrees C, 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is quite a gentle heat. Just going to clean the tip as well, make sure we got no solder on there, because we're not actually soldering. All we're doing, we're just warming up that membrane so that it starts making the contact again. That tip is looking clean enough now. And all we're going to do is just gently go over it. And again, this can be either a very quick, straightforward job and you can do it in 2 minutes, or you'll see here, this took me about 18 minutes, but I've sped it up. So we just got the last couple of lines to go here. And that's it. Looks like we're good. So I'm just going to try it with a game in there, just see what we're getting. That screen looks perfect. So before we put it back together again, we're just going to give it a little clean. Obviously using our official PlayStation wipe on a Nintendo item. Obviously that's the done thing. Just going to remove the screen again. Now, first thing I want to do is that little rubber section. Obviously the glue's come off the back of it. So I'm just going to use some double-sided sticky tape. Just regular tape, nothing special about it. And so I'm just going to stick it on and cut round the rubber. So I found this is the easiest way to do it, is stick the rubber onto the backing tape and then just cut round it, just so you're close to the edges. And again, you might be lucky, the glue might have come away with it, in which case you don't need to do this. So you can see there's no damage being caused by that soldering iron, that all looks good. So we're just going to pull the backing off of that rubber piece and stick it back in place. Now again, what I suggest is when you're doing this, all stages, just keep switching your Game Boy on, make sure your screen's still good. The other thing I want to do as well is stick the screen back on. Again, this screen, I'm going to give it a little wipe. It's a little bit scratched, this screen. It's been used. But at the end of the day, this Game Boy is for playing, not for displaying, so chances are it's just going to get scratched more anyway, so I might as well just keep with it. I can see through it clear enough. Next thing I want to do, while I got it apart, I might as well just clean these contacts with some isopropyl alcohol. So first thing I'm going to do is just clean the contacts on the board, then clean the membranes themselves. So once we've got their membranes nice and clean. So what I'm cleaning here, I'm cleaning both sides of it, but I'm making sure their membranes are nice and clean, because they're the things that make contact. So the speaker itself has a little point on the side of it that needs to line up with the case, just to make sure it sits down snugly. Just powering it up again just to make sure we're still good on that screen, which we are. One thing that's kind of annoying is, even though I've cleaned that screen, a couple of little white dots got underneath it. So because I've only just stuck this on, I can prise it up with a fingernail and get that off and just try and get rid of them little white pieces. Nothing more annoying than a bit of dirt that gets stuck between the screen and the front display. Again, if this was a display that hasn't been off before, you might need to open up your Game Boy and basically dismantle it, do everything we've done, and then push it through to get that screen off, or to replace that screen. But because we've only just stuck this down with double-sided tape, it should be fine for the minute. Just going to remove these two batteries so I can get the screws back in. And you can see here I'm using the Y0 to put the screws back in again. So now we're just going to test it. That's all still looking good. We'll get our game in and let's give it a test. That's looking excellent. So fixing them lines don't make you a better player at Killer Instinct. With that, I'll see you on the next one.